Are we? Just, just
I'm going to stand.
yoga poses. Is that everyone that we have? Oh, sorry, that was my... We're waiting for the cosplays. Jeez. All right, well, I actually realized that I forgot the other microphones in the back of the stage. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves while I go fetch the microphones. Ladies first. Debatable if you're a lady.
I'm a lady.
Hi guys, I'm still getting over a cold, so I have a little bit of a croaky teenage boy voice, okay? My name's Kiralee, I go by Kiralee Cosplay, and I have been cosplaying for 3.5 years now, I think. Yeah, 3.5, let's go with that, yeah.
Hello everybody, I'm Major Sam and I'm from Queensland at Gold Coast, and I make costumes sometimes. I like to compete in costumes and I've done okay. I hate talking about myself, so hello, yes.
G'day everybody, I'm Tyrannus Cosplay, and yeah, I'm the token old guy up here on the stage tonight.
Now, can I actually ask, because I think I've been introducing you wrong. How do you pronounce your name?
Tyrannus.
Tyrannus. I'm sorry, I've been calling you Tyrannus. So you're Tyrannus, you're Majosum, and you're Kiralee. All right. Perfect. Yeah. Okay, well, I will give this back to you guys. So what we'll do is, would you like, when people are watching this, to ask questions during your panel? Okay, so maybe this means that I will have to keep one, so you guys may have to share 2 mics between 4. All right, okay, look, this is a family-friendly event.
Oh.
All right, so let's start this panel off then. Do you guys have any... Yes? All right, why don't we do this? Why don't we have an ego competition? I would like you guys... Oh, Sam obviously wins. But I would like you guys to tell these beautiful audience members the big competitions that you won, starting with Seal.
All right, so I represented Perth in 2014 in the Madman National Cosplay Championships, and then I represented Perth again, or WA again, in 2015, but then I won. So I won the Australian Championships, and just last weekend, this lovely lady and I went over to Sydney to Smash, and we won the World Cosplay Summit 2018. We are Team Australia.
Hell yeah.
High five. I will also like to take this opportunity to mention that Georgia here is an amazing cosplayer and single. And she has also won Madman back in 2012. Yeah, 2012 she won, and she's been in the finals a few times as well. So we've... Shameful cloth. Shameful cloth. But yeah, that's me. Sam, over to you.
Oh, okay. I hate doing this. I won a couple of competitions. I've done got 4 Supernova awards, I think. And then, not last year, but the year before, I won the Oz Comic Con Championships in Australia, which I eventually... Oh, thank you! And then I eventually went to Chicago the next year to compete at C2E2 against, I think it was 9 other countries, and I managed to win that one as well, which was really cool and fun.
So we have a world champion among us?
Apparently, yeah. I think that's how that works.
We love you, Sam.
And then recently, my last bigger win was at San Diego Comic-Con. I won the Motion Pictures Guild Award, so that's the people that make costumes for the movies. I won their award. And I won Most Beautiful as well, which is, I will never get used to that award.
You were most beautiful.
Oh.
For those who don't know, and if you don't know, are you living under a rock? Major Sam did... this beautiful dress from Indiana Jones, one of my favorite series. She did Willie Scott. And she basically sequined the entire dress by hand, and it's a work of glittering art.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. You were most beautiful. And Bernard.
I'm never ever going to win most beautiful anything.
You could.
Thank you for letting me know there's a most beautiful out there. Yeah, I've won Supernova and Evolve a couple of times, the active level. And last year, a couple of friends of mine convinced me to step up to the Champions of Cosplay, and was lucky enough to win the West Australian Champions of Cosplay. So I'll be the rep for WA in about 5 weeks' time. I go over to Sydney to represent the WA cosplay community for the Champions of Cosplay. So that's my one feather in my cap.
WA represent. All right, well, we're still waiting on the cosplaydies, but do we want to start talking about what the panel is about and what you'd like to, or rather, the wisdom that you'd like to impart upon these people? Okay, wisdom. Now, if you guys have any questions, just give your little hands up, and I'll jump off the stage, and by jump off the stage, I mean securely walk off the steps and come to you, okay? All right, the cosplaydies are not joining us, so this is everyone, so go ahead, make their day.
Give me the microphone. Oh, good point.
No, so if there's a question, I'll steal it off you.
No, it's okay, it's okay. Sam's sharing with me. All right, so this panel today is all about the different competitions, how you approach it, also how you can take feedback and, how we take that feedback, because sometimes it's not always positive. And that you have to be in the right headspace to kind of take that. So we'll be discussing a bit about that. We'll be talking about prep, how we choose costumes, how we choose competitions, and really any questions that you guys have, feel free to ask us about that. I know that there's a few people out there in the audience that I can see right now have been involved with competitions. One or two of them I may have been bullying them to go into a competition. But no, seriously, ask us the questions, guys. This is your opportunity. Or you can just fangirl over these guys. It's fine.
I love you guys so much. Oh, I have a question. I'm scared of heights.
Don't do that. Don't jump off the stage. Don't do that.
Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna get off the stage because I don't belong on there. I have a question. Okay. Run. Oh, almost tripped. All right. Yes.
Hello. Okay, so I've been cosplaying for a while, but I never entered in any massive competition or even middling competition, and I've got this cosplay I'm currently working on, and I'm feeling really unmotivated and distracted, and the planning sort of fell apart. So how do you make something that you can actually start a plan with, end up with something that ends up with the plan, and not get lost somewhere in the middle, both motivation and planning-wise?
I think the key to motivation is, I guess, discipline. Motivation won't come in a can from Woolworths. You have to discipline yourself. Basically, when I made Julietta for Chicago for the finals, I was working full-time, and I made it in 3 months. So it was a case of, this is extreme. Don't do this, people. This is extreme. I would go to work at 9, get back at 6, and then from 7 till 11, that was when I made my cosplay. So it's basically have a routine. Also have little goals. So not like big goals like, I want this finished at this time. Kind of make them realistic goals. So I want to get this bit done by this time, but if I can't, then it's not a big deal. So it's being realistic, being disciplined, and basically motivation's not just going to come to you. It'll never come to you. You have to make it yourself. And sometimes when you have a big job like all the sequins I did, I wasn't constantly enjoying it. It was more like a grind that you can shut your mind off a little bit, put a movie on, and work on your costumes. You don't have to be super excited the entire time. You'll have your bits of excitement, you'll have bits that you hate, but just as long as you're grinding and doing a little bit at a time, it'll eventually get finished. And have breaks as well, like mental breaks. I find it good to have something on the side that you can turn off your brain for the big one that you're working on, because you need that break from your brain from the one you're working on. So I found work was great for me because I was thinking about work, and by the time I finished, my brain was ready to go back to my costume. Where at the moment now I'm not working that much and my brain is constantly cosplay, I don't want to cosplay. So you need your break, you need your discipline and realistic schedule.
I found I've got a small group of people who congregate at my place on a Sunday, and we all work on our own projects, but we're all keeping each other motivated and giving each other advice back and forth, and having somebody else progressing through a build with you helps keep me motivated looking around. And I can take a break from something that's boring me. I'm not making sequins, but I have a costume that's covered in scale. And again, it's a monotonous, non-focus type job. So having those other people there to help break that monotony and turn to them helps keep me motivated a fair bit too. And seeing them hit their goals while they're doing their builds rubs off on you a bit as well. So having build partners is helpful.
For me, it's definitely discipline, like Sam said. When I did Jennifer, which is on display down there, I made that in about 5 months, I think it was 5 months, and it was 400 hours of labour. And it was tough. I would go to work, I'd come home, and I'd spend a number of hours, and on the weekends I spend all my weekends working on it. And it is discipline. It's head down, bum up. I also find that when I'm at work, because I work full time, I change my desktop to the project that I'm working on. So when I'm taking a quick mental break from work, I'm getting excited and I'm thinking about what I'm going to be working on when I get home. And that just keeps me a little bit motivated to get home and keep going.
Like you said, your desktop, on my phone wallpaper screen, like you would think that like normal people have a picture of their partner or their pet. No, I have the picture of the costume I'm working on because I'm constantly seeing the reference picture as well. It keeps it on your mind, and sometimes you'll work on a costume so much and forget to look at the reference picture, and then you realize halfway through that you've done something that's not quite the reference. But if it's on your phone, everyone's on their phone all the time. You'll see it all the time. You'll make sure you got your details right.
All right, I have another question over here.
Hi, I'm supposed to be in cosplay today, but I had like a particular problem with my sewing machine. But I always wanted to ask, what would you do?
Just to let you know, you're a really cute Kiki. You're a really cute Kiki.
I was really shy going in as Kiki because I really don't normally cosplay, and I have anxiety.
You're a cute Kiki. You're in cosplay. Please keep on going with your question.
Yeah. I was just like curious. What do you do if you like anything that happens in your cosplay and it doesn't go well? What do you normally do?
That's a great question.
I pulled out my reserve. Literally today, I'm supposed to be standing up here as the Red Hood. And at 2 o'clock this morning, I went, that ain't gonna happen. So I pulled out a reserve costume, because this sits on a mannequin behind me going, psst, wear me again, psst. So I did. So yeah, because you start a costume, doesn't mean you've written a contract that you must finish that costume now. Okay? You might put it aside and start building another costume, finish that one and wear that one and then go back to the first one. There's no commitment to finish a costume if you don't like it. We cosplay for fun. Yeah? So if it stops being fun, put it aside and start doing something that is fun for a while, then go back to that one when the fun returns or the motivation returns for that one. But yeah, so when something happens, it's not the end of the world. You can turn up and be a cute Kiki.
And you can see it this way. Basically, the only way to learn is by, I don't want to swear, messing up. Thank you. I forgot that word. I used another word. Basically, the only way to learn is to mess up. It is the best lesson that you could do, because, and you need to teach yourself to accept that you've messed up and that you need to learn from that and figure out another way. And that's the best lesson you can ever have. You know, you could read books, you can watch tutorials, but being able to fix a mistake will be with you forever because you have that emotional emotional side to it as well. It's like you've messed up and you get upset and you're like, oh, you know, this is really bad. But as soon as you fix it, that is much more, you know, that'll sink in more than just reading a book, that kind of thing. And it's got to the point now that I will intentionally, like if I'm learning something new, I'll intentionally mess up. That's how much I like messing up. I'll mess up on my practice thing so I can understand what happens when I mess up. And that's how I learn. Like I'll intentionally do something wrong because it's the best lesson you can have.
For me, I know that when I do, you know, mess up on something or it doesn't work out the way that I need it to work out, I have been known to cry and have a little bit of a hissy fit. Like, you know, usually it involves my darling husband then just going, it's okay, it's all right, just breathe, here's some food. You know, but in the same token, it's also a case, like Sam said, it's a learning curve. You learn from it. You go, okay, well, that didn't work this way for this reason. Let's start again and keep going. And, you know, and it's all right to take a step away from it for a bit. It's fine. As long as you step back up to it and you don't let it defeat you. You step away for a moment, but you return to it.
Cool. Have we got another question? Yes. Oh, sorry. This is a little bit selfish of me, but a bit of an announcement. I've lost my really cute card captor charm off my phone. So if anyone sees like a little clear card captor charm, just, yeah. I really liked it and I only got it last weekend. All right. What was your question?
In the way of like competing and stuff, how do you deal with nerves? Because I would really love to compete, but I don't like...
So basically, the way you deal with nerves is that you just accept them. Everybody is nervous. I was like even more nervous to compete back at Supernova than I was in Chicago. Like Chicago was nothing. For some reason, being in homeland and having friends there was nervous. But basically, everyone has nerves all the time, constantly, and they're going to be there. And it's almost like at the point when you are competing or making something and you don't have nerves, I'd be concerned. Because basically it's either something's gone to your head or you haven't put that effort into your costume to have the nerves. I feel like if you've put effort into something, the nerves will come because you care about it. It means you care. Nerves means you care. So if there's someone that's not nervous for a competition, it's a bad attitude. Hang on. So nerves are great. And the thing is, it's emotions. Like I'm nervous sitting up here now talking to a whole bunch of people, you know? But you just pretend that you know what you're doing. That's what I've done for years. Like I don't know what I'm doing. I just pretend and like I know things, but I don't. I'm just good at faking it. Oh. So basically nerves are great and because it's like an emotional, it's the adrenaline, you know, just think of it as a science thing. It's a human nature. And you'll find you'll come out on stage, do your thing, and then you get off and it's like a really good feeling. So just kind of have that, you know, oh, I'm going to be relieved after this and I'm going to be happy after this, and you can relax, and it's that little bit of adrenaline. So don't worry about nerves. And the person next to you has nerves, and the person down the line in queue for you has got nerves, you know, so it's okay. They're fine. It's good to have nerves. It means you care. Yeah.
Now you can talk, Kiralee.
Now I can talk. I'm sorry, I'm like, give me the phone, give me the microphone. Okay, one little fun fact about me. I actually suffer really bad anxiety. Like, really bad. It's crippling. I'm not nervous in this situation because, like, I know you guys and, like, I know a lot of you guys and I know that you guys are lovely and you're not judging me too much. But, like, for competitions, and especially the big competitions like Jennifer, like this, where the ones where we've won, you know, they're the costumes that I've put hundreds of hours of work in. And I have worked hard on the skit and I am passionate about it. But I also know that the person who's standing next door to me has probably put just as much work into it. And it's a ball of emotions. You know what I say in those situations? If you can and you can get past feeling like you are just going to pass out, okay, offer to help someone else, okay? In competitions, you're all in the same boat. No one is your enemy, okay? And I would say, to be honest, a lot of I've never been in a competition where anyone has sabotaged anyone else or no one's been mean to other contestants. I've been very fortunate in that regards. I've not been in that situation. And I think that if you extend an olive branch to your fellow contestants, say, hey, listen, we're in this together, you can't, if you're helping someone else, you forget your own nerves. So that's if I'm being nice to you in a competition, it's just because I'm trying to help myself out. But no, it's good to help each other and it will help you. But.
Absolutely. I let a certain person on the stage with me know that I nearly pulled out of the cosplay competition at Comic-Con twice. I'm quite comfortable standing in front of people in a crowd. I entertain for a living. I do this 5 nights a week. But the prospect of going into that little room and having a panel of people specifically criticise my costume and take apart 9 months of work scared me silly. I don't like it. I'm getting sweaty palms telling you about it. I'm really too much of an ego. I put the effort in, I finished it, it's perfect, and then to have people go, did you notice that seam and did you see, and have people tear it apart really. Like, so I had an email drafted ready to send to Comic-Con going, I'm sorry, but I'm pulling out. And I was chatting away in the WA cosplay group, and Kira Lee jumped on and gave me some encouraging words of advice. So I stayed in the competition. And then I saw the other competitors, and I nearly went, you know what? I think my mum's calling me. And then Kira Lee again reached out and was nice and charming and just supportive. You'll be amazed how many of the other cosplayers in this room will stand up and support you when you're competing. I think competing is probably the wrong word for what we do because it doesn't feel like a competition. There doesn't seem to be a challenge from the other people who are on the stage with you and the other people who are in the competition. So, yeah, give it a go. Start with smaller conventions if you're uncomfortable, something like this, and then build up to standing in front of a larger room. Yeah. Don't do that whole imagine everybody naked thing. Nobody wants to... Yeah. That doesn't work. Okay? But yeah, start smaller. I mean, you're making the first step now. You are cosplaying in front of other people and nobody is critiquing and criticising you. So yeah, if you want to move up to competition, perhaps starting with the Evolve competitions or the smaller ones may be a way for you to step in. Or you can do the same way that you learn how to swim. Jump in the deep end and go. Hey, exactly. What's the worst that can happen? You can walk out going, okay, next year I'm going to try more. That's
the thing as well. It's like if you enter a cosplay competition, what's the absolute worst that can happen, really? You're not going to die. You might, but you're not going to.
The other thing is that in the big competitions, you may not win the first time that you go in, but I tell you what, when you look at the other costumes that you're up against and the ones that do win, you learn. You learn from them. So I learned so much when I went over to the finals in Madman 2014 from my fellow contestants that I took those skills, I learnt them, and I applied them to my next costume, which I won in. So, you know, yeah, I'm always like, jump at the deep end, woo! You know, just, you know, but that's me. You've got to do what's comfortable for you.
Another thing that I will add to you guys who've made some fantastic points to that as well is that if you are going into big competitions, the judges are not your enemies. So if they say something like, have you noticed that, you know, this seam, for example, is there, or why have you decided to do this technique this way, it's not because they're, you know, criticizing you. It's because, one, they either want to learn, or two, they want you to get better. So on the end of that as well, if you've got a judge, like all three of you have been judges in competition. Oh, you will be a judge, you know, in the future. So for those who have judged, the reason why you give feedback is because you can see someone in a way that they can improve and you want them to improve. So if you are nervous about something or you go into a competition and you think, oh, what can I improve on? If you ask for feedback from the judges, they will tell you happily. They will say, well, this is another thing that you can do. So feedback is really good on the end of that as well. So another one, any questions? Yes.
Just wondering, how do you make the decision of like, yeah, this is my next big project versus a project that you're like, yeah, this will be kind of a side project that you'll work on and you'll get it done when you get it done?
So sort of how we choose our costumes and what we're going to make. It really depends on your goal in the end. So basically, when it came to the Oz Comic Con competition for myself is... Oh, she found her.
I found my charm. Sorry. I paid $11 for these.
So the Oz Comic Con Championships is purely craftsman based. So it's all about what you make. Whereas something like the WCS Mad Men, that's got costume and skit. So you need to take that in mind. So what's your end goal? My end goal for Oz Comic Con was to win, I guess. But that was, it's a competition. You're there to win as well. Like it's there to challenge you, to have fun, and go as hard as you can. And if you win, that's amazing. And my intent was to win, so I could go to America, to go to Disneyland. I wasn't worried about Chicago. I just wanted to go to Disneyland. That was my concern. So when it came to choosing those costumes, is that I knew I had to find costumes that showed a lot of skills, so a lot of different skills. You'll have sewing and painting and armor and beading and basically cram as many different skills you can fit into one costume, and so you can tell the judges, I can do all these things. It may only be like a little bit of something, but it's just enough to prove that you can do that, and that's impressive to judges. So if you have a costume that's just sewing, yeah, that's pretty good. But if you have a costume that has sewing and beading and a bit of armor, like that's it just shows what you can do, and that's your intent. So I chose Carlotta. I taught myself screen printing for that because I saw not a lot of people screen printed. Plus, I just love that costume as well. You do need to have some form of connection to that costume, either if you just love the design or you love the character. I've made costumes where I don't know what the character is, and it's just like, this is a waste of time. So it depends on your intent and what you want to do with it. It was the same deal with Julietta. I had to find a costume that was sewn, because I'm more of a sewer, but that was big enough and had enough skill to compete against a 9-foot-tall Hulkbuster, which is a bit difficult when you're mostly a sewer because everything's little fine details. So I found a costume that was sewing. It had a little bit of armor, corsetry, horns, wig work, makeup. I had puppetry as well. I had a back piece and everything. So I basically look for costumes that I can throw as much skills as I can in as well. And concept art is really good if you want to be able to have a bit more, you can add your own designs to it. So if you've got concept art, has more open than, say, replicating a movie costume. So I find concept art for comps is really good. And then when it comes to like skit competitions as well, depends on what sort of skit you want to do. So when I chose to do Willie Scott for San Diego Comic-Con, I did that costume because I've always wanted that costume since I was like yay high, because it's just my, I watched it with my dad like a million times a year. And there was a particular award I wanted, which was the Motion Guild's award. So I made that costume. Even though it didn't have as many skills, it went for the award that I wanted. So in the end, it's your intent. Mostly.
For me, when I'm choosing a costume, because it really does depend, like Sam mentioned, what sort of competition you're entering. Are you entering a competition that is purely craftsmanship, or are you entering a competition which is skill and also costume? Because when you're doing the, and I think Sam covered off really well, the just pure craftsmanship. I mean, this is what she is, guys. She's a craftsman. She's awesome. And the competitions that I've won and I've been successful in are the ones that are skit and costume. And with that, it's a difficult balancing act, because you know, a lot of these ones are half costume, half skit, or, you know, there's Clara Cow, which is 60% skit and 40% costume. And you have to look at the weighing in that regards. And sometimes you may have the most beautiful costume that is being constructed and it has all these different skills, but you will not win because you cannot make a good skit with that costume. So there's a bit of a selling down of, okay, well, we won't do that series. Let's do this series with this costume because that's got these technical elements. I mean, Georgia and I, when we were going through our potential WCS characters that we wanted to do, it took us like a couple of weeks to finalise what we were going to do. And the reason why we chose Black Butler was because of the fact that we could do a costume change. The costumes weren't simple. Well, they weren't simple. Let's just leave it there. It wasn't simple. But the skit, we could bring what we were most confident in, which was comedy. We're not serious people. If you know Georgia and I, we are not serious. And we could do a quick change. And we felt like that was enough for us to be able to pull it all together and do the 50-50 score so that it was even. So, you know, it depends. It depends on what type of competition you're going into.
For me, how do I choose a costume? I like that.
Right,
Yeah, that's how I started.
I want that one.
Yeah, I had a T-shirt that had a one of those ripped T-shirts. You know how they put the design out for 24 hours, and so there was a concept picture on there of a Cyberman that had upgraded Darth Vader. I went, I like that. I'm probably going to offend two major fandoms in the one go, but so I made it. I've got to have a connection with what I'm building. In that case, I'm a Whovian and I like Star Wars, so it appealed to me there. This costume has been my character's costume in Skyrim for the last 120 hours or so. So I had an emotional investment in that. And my next costume, the one that I'm planning after this, is the Daedric armor from Skyrim, because that's what my character's wearing now. And it will give me a challenge, a stepping stone up. This costume was a vast improvement from everything I built before it. It was more intricate and more detailed. And I like to try and push myself a little bit. So the Daedric has a lot more detail. It's a more composite costume. And I like it. So that's how I choose mine. It's got to jump off a page or out of a game or off a movie at me. And to stay motivated, it's got to be something that I have an attachment to. So yeah, I choose my costumes on, do I like it? Would I want to wear it to 5 cons in a row? Yeah. And will it challenge me to build it?
And just to quickly touch on that as well, I think it's up to you, your personality and the reason why you cosplay in general. There's no point you entering in a big craftsmanship competition if you don't, you're not that interested in crafting things. You don't have to enter in a cosplay competition if you don't want to. Like, you can still be an amazing cosplayer and not enter a single competition. There's people out there that love having photo shoots, so they might do a lot more simple costumes. That's totally fine. There's people like myself who the crafting side of it is where I find my joy. I'm not that keen on wearing costumes. Well, I do, but all my fun and my love goes into the hours and hours locking myself in my dungeon, wearing no bra and just really dirty clothes and just sitting there sewing for hours and then for just one day of wearing it. Or you might be into like Love Live and you like to dance in your costume. Like, it's totally up to you and your personality. So you don't think you have to do something that you don't like. Don't ever make something you don't like. Yes. You guys are adorable. Yes.
I know if someone tells you, you can't cosplay this character because this character's a trash character, You be a trash character. You do whatever you want.
You be the best trash character ever.
It's called garbage can, not garbage cannot.
That's it.
All right. Any more? Another question over here. Oh yes, I recognize you. This is one of these great people who makes amazing costumes, and Kirli and I regularly try to bully you into entering competitions. I'm sorry. What was your question?
Hi. In competitions, how important is it that the judges know your character beforehand? Because
Not at
I do
all.
a lot of original, like my own characters, because I prefer that. Do you have to have like backstory, or what's the?
It sort of depends on the competition you're entering, but if you judge, a good judge won't care what you're from, because not everyone knows everything. And I've done judging I've judged in London, I've judged in Denmark. There's plenty of stuff that I don't know, but I treat each costume as its own costume. Judges would never have favoritism in any sort of series or anything. I hear people say, oh, that person won because that judge really likes Overwatch. And it's like, well, no, they won because they had the best costume. That's not a thing. If there is a judge that does that, for shame. If you do original characters, that's totally fine as long as your competition allows that. Some don't. Things like WCS Madman, that's Japanese. You need reference for that. If you do something like Oz Comic Con, they do allow original characters, but it will really, really help you if you do sketches of your design, even make up a backstory for your character. It doesn't have to be an entire novel. Just say, oh, my character does this. My character fights these kind of things, she has these powers, and that's really good because it means that you're thinking about the design of your character. And when you are designing your original character, make sure that your design makes sense. So I use these fabrics because she lives in a desert, you know, that kind of thing. So that's totally fine. Judges are looking for the best costume. They're not looking for favoritism. So original characters, totally great. Just, you know, have a good in-depth think about it and make your own little story to go along with it. Yeah.
Speaking of which, like, you were one of the judges for Oz Comic Con Sydney last year, weren't you, Sam? Oh, Brisbane. Okay. I'm trying to remember which one it was, because I think in Sydney last year, correct me if I'm wrong, my mind's a bit fuzzy here, there was a own character that actually won Oz Comic Con Sydney. Oh, that was Brisbane. It was Brisbane. I thought you were there. So it was Brisbane. And, you know, do you want to tell us, you know, a little bit about own character in Brisbane? Like, what stood that apart? I mean, that was the woman's own design.
So the benefit of entering like Oz Comic Con or something with your original characters, there's no skit involved. So skit-based competitions don't do original characters because you don't have that character backstory to do a skit like, you know, your anime and that kind of thing. So because that competition is purely craftsmanship, we just mostly see the costume as it's made. We do take into account the, you know, the backstory. Like that gives you a lot of points. It just proves that you're thinking a bit more. The reason why, and it was Lumen Cosplay, her name's Maggie. The reason why she won Brisbane is that her finishing on all her costume was brilliant. She had made her own horns that seamlessly came out of her head. She did all this gold gilding. She made these wings, and she did have sketches and thought process behind it. If that was a skit-based competition, she might have not have done as well because she wouldn't have had that sort of character backstory. So again, depends on the comp, but basically that came down. She had really good craftsmanship. Yeah.
The other thing to remember is where the judges come from. Judges are, for the most part, fellow cosplayers and people in the costuming or promotion industry. So they recognise a costume for what it is most of the time. So, yeah, like you said, if you're doing a skit, then you have to be in the character that they recognise or that they can research and have some sort of guide to. So having sketches of your work before you start shows them this is what I intended to make, and here is the rendition of that intention. So yeah, having an original costume, as long as it's in the right type of competition, absolutely nothing wrong with it. And every costume in the room started off as an original somewhere. Some guy sat down at a drafting board and made Diva as an original concept. Yeah.
Cool.
One more?
Do we have another question? Another question? How are we going? Good? Yep, fine. All
Hey,
right,
Georgia.
another question.
Oh, you got a question?
What?
Because I was going to say, one thing that would be cool to talk about, if you guys want to know about this, is how to deal with feedback and rejection.
Yeah.
All right,
well,
if you guys want to know about that, because that's a big part of competition.
Well, can we do a really quick answer for this?
Yeah,
gentleman
go ahead.
first? So think brevity.
I know Tyrannus' cosplay goal is Daedric armor from Skyrim, but what about Major Sam and Kiara? I think it's Kiara Lee.
Kira Lee.
Kiara Lee.
It's all right. Call me Kiara. Call me Buffett. It's fine.
Just don't call her late for dinner.
Go on, Sam. You go first.
What was the question? What's my next big cosplay? My next big cosplay, I was going to do a big fairy queen for Oz Comic Con next month, but I did run out of time and mental capacity. I've only been back from America for a couple of weeks, and that was beyond draining physically and mentally. So that was for that. So I'm having a break for her at the moment. But my next costume is I'm making Maleficent, because Maleficent's rad and she's a dragon. And I did go to Disneyland and I saw her and I'm like, I'm going to be that. And I'm doing that with Benina kind of helping me out there with the embroidery on that, so that'll be at Oz Comic Con. But yeah, I'm making a big, stupid fairy thing with wings that I won't be able to move much, but isn't that a good costume when you're too big to go through the doors? Yeah.
You look glorious. I'm so hyped for it.
I'm so excited for it. Next big costume for me. WCS, so World Cosplay Summit is in July next year, and Georgia and I have lots of costumes to make and a skit to create. You should see her face right now, it's great. I have this wicked design that I commissioned off an Australian artist, Tiger Kun. Have you met Tiger Kun? She's lovely, Alexis. She's a Sydney-based cosplayer and artist, and she does these amazing. Yes, I know her. She's done up this Volpex for me, a Volpex design. And we discussed it, and it's like full of detail. I'm like, this is my Oz Comic Con, but I just don't have time this year. So that might be deferred for a year, but it will be a big lot of work, a lot of work. Yeah.
All right, well, you said that you wanted to talk about receiving feedback.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Hey,
if you guys want to know that.
How long have we got? We've got 5 minutes.
Okay, so, guys, feedback. You're going to go into a competition. You may not win. Okay, there can only be one. Oh. But you taking that disappointment and turning around into motivation to do better is really, really important. I know that when I did Angela in 2014 over in Brisbane for the Madman finals there, it was my first year of cosplaying. I was just stoked that I got into, to be able to represent this amazing state of WA, my home. And I put lots of work into that costume. I didn't think that you could spend 80 hours sewing on feathers onto wings. My fingers hurt because I had to do it by hand. It was a big build. I think my costume all up took maybe 200 hours to make. Over the course of 5 months. And I didn't place. I didn't place with these other amazing cosplayers. But I came out of that really gung-ho to do better and to learn from it and keep on going. But saying that, there's also been other competitions where I've entered some which will not be named, hey Georgia, where I have felt like I should have won, or I should have placed, or something like that. And it's about taking back the feedback and going, that's someone's opinion, and being okay with letting that go if it's not something that you can get something out of. So knowing when to take advice and to learn from it, and when to go, yeah, just let that one go.
You're always going to get criticism. Like, even when you win, you get criticism, and it's, even when you make something perfect, you're going to get criticism. Like, you're going to get stupid criticism and you're going to get good criticism, and it's a case of just knowing what to take. And sometimes people will say stuff that are like absolutely horrible, and deep down inside that they're wrong, but you will still take it, and it'll hurt. And I've had nights where people have said stuff to me that I absolutely know aren't true whatsoever, and I've just had a big cry about it. Like, yeah, but it's okay, because you figure out what sort of people that you're happy to listen to, and if it's knowing who to ignore, who to listen to. Like, if a judge comes up to you and says, these are the things you can improve on, take that. But if Joe Blow out the back sends you a stupid message on your Facebook and says, hey, this is a bit dodgy, you can just go, well, what do you know? You're not a judge. So it's basically knowing when to take criticism, knowing when to ignore it. And it's also okay if you feel hurt by them as well, because we're all humans. You're going to get hurt. No matter how good you are, or, if you're starting out, you're going to get criticism, and you're just going to have to accept it.
All right,
yeah.
so do you want to just quickly say something, because we are over time now, so...
Yeah, easy. Two types of criticism. The criticism that you accept and the criticism you reject, and how do you decide which is which? If you admire and look up to the person giving you the criticism, then reflect upon it. If you don't admire or look up to the person who gives you criticism, kick that crap to the curb. It's not worth carrying around.
That's well said, guys. All right, well, thank you very much for everyone, and give a big round of applause to these 3 amazing cosplayers. All right, thank you very much. I'll collect that and collect that. Let me just put these away. Judging, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, so leading right up to that, we have Kira Lee, which is still going to stay on stage, and she's got her panel called Cosplay Breakdowns. So that's going to have not the cosplay breakdowns that we all have at one point or another, which is literally just us going. That's a different breakdown. So Kira will be having her panel here with a slide as well.
Screen.
Awesome!
Descend.
I am hyped for this.
Hi guys.
All right, now just let you guys know that